All right, guys.
Welcome to the Deer Shot Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company.
He went and watched a movie that has a $200 million production budget, and then the next thing he watched was our video on YouTube that has a $0 production budget.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years.
Your track job was the first fun track job. That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video for the whole world to see.
That's what Caleb did. 5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. You can't leave anything.
All right, guys. Deer Shot Podcast, episode 84. Today we have a remote guest, someone that's been on the podcast before, Jacob Emery, DO3, Dad of 3 Outdoors. We're going to get Jacob on here in just a minute, but first I want to touch on a few things here with Ethan. It is February 24th. We're doing a late start tonight. It is 8:45 that we are starting this podcast. The off season is in full swing.
Yeah.
Ohio's been closed for about 3-4 weeks now.
Yep. Pure misery here in Ohio.
Yeah, the snow is finally melting off. It's been there's been snow on the ground for almost 60 days straight, I think.
Terrible.
There was like a 3 or 4 day window where it all melted and then it snowed again. And if you're from the Northeast, you know you're feeling just as well as we are. But it's finally starting to get warm.
You go to bed with a clean car and you wake up with 3 inches of snow and you're like, God dang it. I have to go clean my car off before work again.
Terrible weather for shed hunting. Terrible weather for getting in the woods and working on food plots. I did actually get in the woods today and start clearing a new plot project that we're going to have this year. It's kind of centered around one of our water holes that I built last year. This is a good time of year to get out there with the chainsaw, start that kind of thing. But I really haven't done too much shed hunting yet, just because of the snow, and the buck that I really want to find is still holding. He was gone for, 8-9 days?
Yeah, he walks by the camera.
He walked by it twice.
Every time Caleb goes in the woods, he just tells me, he's like, I'm still here and I'm still holding. He walks by it, and then...
I've only looked for his antlers once, and that was maybe 10 days ago, and I haven't been in the woods since, and he's still walking around holding his antlers, so we will make a move on him when the time is right.
And he's very distinct because he has a split ear.
Yeah. We'll be able to keep it. We will know for sure. As long as he looks right at the camera, we'll know for sure if he's shed. Some of the other bucks that he was running with, I think, are probably all off because we haven't got any of the other bucks yet. But I think we're going to wait just a little bit longer before we start after them. But I was able to get in the woods today, do some chainsaw work, started clearing a shady woods plot, I want to call it. We haven't done one of these in, man, it's probably been 5 or 6 seasons since I've actually gone and put those small micro plots.
Yeah,
in
I
the
talked
woods.
to you about it last year. Like, it's pointless. They don't work.
Well, I did not like them when we did them in the past, but this year with how much action we had on our water holes and all the water that we put in the farm, I don't see how it would hurt to open up the canopy a little bit.
No,
and
it's
try
not
to
going to hurt anything.
Plant some stuff before the green up. I'm going to do probably like a clover, chicory, oats mix in that one.
In a couple different spots.
Yeah, there's one spot for sure I'm going to do it. This might be the only spot where I actually plant anything. I'm going to clear out some other spots, but it felt good to get in the woods and kind of do some of that. You actually scouted a new area.
New to us.
New to us area, and don't say the name of it because
no, obviously not.
we're
But
be burning public land here in Ohio.
It's a couple hours away from home. I got a bug in my ass and said, hey, I want to go scout some public, and I stumbled upon my third shed ever, actually.
Third ever.
Yeah, I don't have an eye for sheds, but
he doesn't contrut much to this.
I walked around for like 3 hours, and I found one in a spot that I really, really like. Hopefully access is good. I should say access is good. Hopefully it's not overran in the fall with people. But like I said, it's public. It's not close to home. So
yeah, it's closer to your employment than it is home. Yeah. So that doesn't really open it up very much. You said you found one set of sticks, a couple cameras.
Yeah, found an old ladder stand with a camera and a scent hang bag in the middle of the woods, and then I found one set of sticks on a good piece. I think it's a good piece. We'll see when the fall comes around.
I incorrectly call this the first shed that we found this year because technically I think Nick has like 2 or 3.
Yeah, his don't count though.
He found 2 on his corn pile and one I think while walking power line right away at work.
Yeah, it's the first us shed.
Yeah, first shed for us. Yeah. Anything else you want to banter about before we get Jacob on?
Just we're going to go down to more public and scout. Me and Dylan have some ideas for this fall.
Yeah, you, Dylan, and Uncle Jay, it sounds like, are going to start spending some weekdays or you're going to do some overnight camps on some public land, start dipping into that. Maybe you're going to run into our guest there. I know he hunts a little bit of Southern Ohio. But yeah, I guess now's the perfect time to bring Jacob on. Jacob, can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine.
Perfect, man. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Be glad when all the sickness and cold and BS weather is out of here.
Yeah, I hear you on that. The sickness has my household has avoided the sickness, but a lot of the guys I work with and a lot of my buddies and some of the guys in our hunting group, it's been bad, puking, cold, flu, just nasty.
It's funny. I spend a lot of time in the ER due to my schooling right now, and I haven't got the sickness yet, thankfully.
You probably will soon.
You're doing good.
So Jacob, you were on here earlier this year, or I should say you were on here last year. I think we aired those podcasts in either late August or early September. We talked about public land deer hunting and some of the ways you tackle different public lands. And I think after listening to that podcast and then obviously watching your last season, I think you might be onto something with some of your intel and some of your methods. You had one hell of a season this year.
Yeah, it was very productive, and the numbers were high in buck kills, but I mean, a few of those deer weren't up to a lot of people's par, so to speak.
What makes a trophy, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking around my living room right now, and every time I shoot one, and it's like, he just doesn't make the cut. All I can think about is that's $700 in my pocket, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah. You've been doing a lot of Euro mounts lately, huh?
That's right. I'm starting to like them deer. Them 3.5-year-old deer that just ain't quite there yet, but they're still really get your heart pumping. Them the ones I like.
For the record, I'm probably not passing any 3.5-year-old bucks on public land, especially when I'm hunting out of state and doing these long trips. I've yet to really meet anyone that would pass those 120-inch 3-year-old bucks. Those deer just don't they don't come along every day on public land.
No, they don't. Not especially up there where you boys are.
Yeah, public land the public land we used to hunt, man. 15 years ago when we first started getting into hunting, it was a completely different ballgame. There was giants on public land, and there still is, but this last 10 years, first it was the Amish, and then it was kind of the onslaught of social media and YouTube hunting. Not that those guys took out all the deer, but it just kind of started the trend of public land hunting. As you know, you've been dealing with the same thing for the last 3 or 4 years. It has kind of changed the deer herd a little bit, but I mean, there's still some good bucks to be found on public.
Right.
It kind of shined a spotlight, but I think the spotlight's getting more reduced. I think a lot of people dove into that, and they're like, this isn't as fun as it looks because it's hard. And it's kind of on the decline because we went down with Dylan when he tracked his deer, and there was no one.
Yeah, we had a guy in our group shoot a public land buck this year in Ohio. Good. It was a 6x5, 134, 135 inch, very mature, old block-headed buck. And he actually shot it the Friday before Ohio's youth gun season started. So he shot it and then left it lay overnight. A couple of the guys went down and they did a party. They went in, not a party track, but they went in 2 or 3 guys to track it because he thought he might have hit gut and it was going to be a rough track. And they ended up finding it. It was a great story. They were wearing their hunter orange, but you guys didn't encounter any.
No, we went down early. Me and Luke left here at 3:30 in the morning to get down there before daylight, to get into the woods before daylight and get on the blood before the sun rose. And there was nobody. We thought it was going to be packed. We thought there was going to be people everywhere, and there was nothing. We had free reign of thousands of acres,
which
is good.
It's good. Yeah, it's a very good thing. Very, very good thing.
I just realized something. You guys are in Ohio?
Yep.
Okay, so that for some reason I was thinking Michigan. So
no,
when I said, yeah, I'm an idiot. So everybody that was listening to that knows you guys are from Ohio. Like, what the hell are you talking about? There's 3.5-year-old big deer running around everywhere in Ohio.
No, we're Ohio guys, not Michigan guys, but we do.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, man. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We we don't hunt a ton of public land in Ohio, though. Most of our public land hunting, we actually travel out of state. Indiana and Pennsylvania are our two main.
So we actually go right by you.
Yeah, we kind of go in your. That is kind of how we met. I remember. Oh, geez, now it's probably been three, 4
years.
Yeah, when I started messaging a group of guys about doing a public land hunt in Indiana, and you were one of the guys that we messaged, and it didn't quite work out that you got to go with us, but yeah, definitely some of the same general-ish areas, but I love that area of Indiana. I mean, I will do everything I can to not show too much in our videos and our podcasts of that area because I love it. It's awesome.
Right. It's a double-edged sword, dude. Video and your hunts, and then you become intimate with an area, and it's like, I don't want to not bring these hunts to people so they can enjoy and learn something from, but at the same time, it's like, at what point do I stop doing this to protect what I've got? And it's not, I mean, like, I'm not scared of competition.
Right.
I'm scared of competition that ruins it for everybody. Like I've said for years, it's like the booming number of people in the woods turkey hunting now since COVID is so stupid. Like, you can have 10 guys in the woods that know what they're doing hunting the same bird, and they will not educate that bird most of the time. Or you can have one idiot in there running around that has no idea what he's doing, and he's educated that turkey and every bird within a 100-mile radius. It's like people that are in the woods that don't know what they're doing are the ones that kind of make it tougher for everybody else. But you got to learn somehow. Yeah. So if you're a new guy getting out there and trying, who cares? You know what I mean? Go screw up. That's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, we could go off on a couple tangents here if we wanted to, but we had a bad experience this last year turkey season on public land. We were actually hunting a chunk of private in Ohio that was bordering a public land piece. We got on a gobbler a couple days in a row. Actually missed. My buddy was actually hunting with a recurve. I was filming him hunt with a recurve. He missed the gobbler with his recurve bow. The third day, we decided to lay off the pressure and let that bird go hunt somewhere else. And I was actually hunting a couple miles away, and I remember specifically it was about 5 minutes before legal shooting light. Bang! I heard a shot in that direction, and I'm thinking in my head, no way. Please do not. And then I got on a local hunting page later that day. I made a comment, yeah, heard a shot, 5 minutes early out there, blah, 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 township. Instantly, 2 or 3 guys commented on there, oh, it was at so-and-so wildlife area. Guy shot a bird off the roost, ran it back to the parking lot, and that bird was gone for the rest of the year. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a shame that there are people out there that would ruin what we have for and the shooting a turkey off a roost thing. I don't understand it. Turkey hunting is all about experience. You can buy turkey at the deli for $5. You don't. Turkey hunting is an experience thing. You want to be in the woods. You want to be calling the birds. You want to have a great hunt. What does shooting one off the roofs at dark accomplish?
I don't know. I tell you what, though. You know what? I'm gonna come out and say it.
Do it.
I hunted a state years ago that it was legal, 100% legal, and it was the last day of season, so you could go either way with this. Like, just let him go or not. But we'd snuck into this spot, and it's like, I think they're going to be roosted pretty close. And like, you were hearing stuff hit the leaves around us in the dark.
Yep.
It was him shitting above us.
Yep.
And wasn't on the limb, but he got about a 3 or 4 foot head start, and he didn't make it no further than that.
Well, technically, so here in Ohio, technically, if they're flying, you can shoot them. You are allowed to shoot them flying, but you can't shoot them when they're actually on the limb.
I mean, he went poof. So, he had some good spurs too. So
that's the way I like to hunt turkeys. I like to get in like an hour and a half before light, and literally get 20 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards away from that roost tree and get down and get settled in, because it's kind of weird. Those birds do sleep. They're up there asleep. And you can, if you walk nice and quiet and it's a dark night, not a moonlit crazy night, but you can, especially later in the season, you can get in and get really close to that roost tree. You don't even have to make a call. You just sit there. And as long as it's not on like a hillside or a field edge where they're going to coast out, they'll drop down in front of you, start looking around, and bang.
Yep.
Have you ever hunted turkeys in West Virginia?
So I thought about trying it this year, just because the dates come in a few days before Indiana.
Yeah.
So if the funds are there, I may go try it.
We
I
hunt.
don't really know where to start. I probably won't venture very far into West Virginia just to save on time and fuel. But
Yeah. We have we do a ton of West Virginia hunting, but it's all private, so I don't really know much about the West Virginia public thing. But you can hunt turkeys in West Virginia with a rifle if you want to. So you can shoot them with a 30-06 at 200 yards if you really wanted to. But that's another one of those things where it's like, man, I just don't know if I'd enjoy that.
yeah,
I mean, I know I wouldn't enjoy it,
We
so
would
I don't do
also
it.
miss.
Yeah, I'd probably miss too because I'm not that good with a rifle. But
no.
well, turkeys must be on our mind because that's the direction we started going.
I was going to ask about turkeys after everything.
Now we might as well just keep talking about it now.
Yeah, so
Screw it.
you do a lot of turkey hunting. What's your turkey plans this spring, not fall?
All right. So a lot of that depends on how draws come out. I've applied for a few quota hunts, a few different states, or in a few different states. I'm currently waiting a few more days to find out what Mississippi says. As bad as I told myself last year, I'm not going back. I don't want to go down there and fool with them. They're tough. They're the hardest birds I've hunted in the U.S. so far. But I kept going really early. So I applied for a quota hunt a little bit later in March, closer to April, so that it's a little more green and the birds are doing it. I used to be a firm believer that, fresh birds was key. Even if it's hunting that first like 2 or 3 days of season, like I'd rather do that than hunt later in the year when they've been pressured.
Yeah.
And it's almost to the point where like the birds aren't even doing it yet, especially if you get a little cold snap down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're hunting fall turkeys all over again. They're not gobbling. They're not talking. They're seeing you 150 yards through the woods. So they're not getting to do their thing. And then everybody's done hunting after that first week. It's like, I'm going to sneak in down there about 10, 15 days into season now, something of that nature. And when they start getting hot, I'm a firm believer as well that, there may be a turkey that at 9 out of 10 days, he ain't ready to die. And it don't matter what you do, unless you bushwhack him, you ain't going to kill him. He's not ready. But that one day, it almost doesn't matter how hard he's been hunted or how many times he's been bumped. He is on fire, and it's going to happen if you get in the right spot.
Yeah.
And you said that's early or late March you're going to be going down?
Well, if I draw the quota, I will be. If not, I'll start in Alabama.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking I'm going to start in Alabama regardless, and then transition into Mississippi later that week.
We don't know much about the southern states with seasons. When do they open up? Everything opens up here mid-April.
They've changed so much over the last 10 years that I really can't give you a specific date. I do know that the earliest season opens up, I think, in actually Hawaii. But
I saw that yesterday. I said that to
Yeah.
Dylan. There's a
something like February or something like that.
3-tag limit. I was like, let's go. Let's just do it.
Yeah, well, if we ever go to Hawaii, my wife's going to figure out why the hell we're going in February. I promise you that.
I think the weather's probably pretty nice. I mean, it's equator state, right?
Yeah, it's
so
Hawaii.
I'm sure the weather's fine.
I don't
in
think the weather's
February.
ever bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think Florida, is a really, really early March, like the first couple days. Then there's a line. Then it opens up the 15th. Mississippi opens the 15th. Alabama used to open the 15th. They pushed it back. They dropped the allocated tags that how many birds you can kill, bag limit each year. And then it just kind of works its way north. It seems there's a couple of states that are kind of weird, like, Alabama, Mississippi are on my radar this year. I drew a first season Illinois tag, and that comes in the first Monday in April. So that's a pretty far north.
Yeah, that's early.
state.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's not an easy hunt. The last time I drew it, I got my butt kicked because it rained 4 out of the 5 days of the season and never got above 45 degrees, I don't think. So it was really tough.
Yeah, that's
So
rough.
it'll be those 2 states, either Mississippi, Alabama, Illinois, of course, Kentucky and Indiana. And because I buy my Tennessee license every August now to go down there and bow hunt, my license is valid during Tennessee turkey season. So I'll make a trip down there. Let's see. Like I said, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana. And then I am getting a chance to hunt with Shane Simpson this year.
Okay.
I'm going to go up and purchase a couple leftover tags for Wisconsin. And I'm going to drive up there mid to late May and go hunt some of them birds when they're officially done doing pretty much everything, but they're still super killable.
Yeah, he's one of the best turkey hunters in the world, man.
Dude, I think as far as the YouTube aspect of it and self-filming turkey hunts and explaining and teaching people why something didn't happen, what you should and shouldn't do, Shane is the best, period.
Yeah.
Like, I like Dave Owens as a guy. Like, I like him, but it seems like about 45% of the video is sitting there with the bird smoking a cigar, and now half the woods is doing it now.
Yeah.
It's footage like my turkey hunts. It's kind of subpar, and the reason it is because we're just dedicated to killing the damn bird. We don't.
Yeah, we've tried.
Footage isn't for me most of the time. I mean, it'd be great, but it's so hard to self film a turkey hunt. So
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that there's, and it's funny. I know I know you saw on Mobile Hunters, the Facebook group the other day. Someone brought up your favorite turkey hunters and what YouTube channels. So many people love that Shane Simpson, Dave Owens, GoPro over the shoulder. They have a camcorder, but they don't move it. And they sit there and it's a master class on calling, and then you see a little white head show up and bam, they kill a turkey. The difference is those guys kill about 20 turkeys a year, and we're lucky to kill one or two because we're like kind of the opposite. We got a hunter, we got a cameraman behind him. He's got his main camera 4K. We got secondary cameras, and everyone's sitting there, and we get a lot of beautiful footage of the turkeys 100 yards away. And every time they get close, we end up busting them, or it doesn't happen because so much movement, and it's just turkey hunting without a blind. And filming it is tough.
It's really tough. It is really, really tough.
I like watching the channels that have beautiful footage, and obviously like some of the guys down the southern ways you were talking about, like the Louisiana, the Primos guys, they got that down to a science filming those turkeys. But a lot of guys love the GoPro, less cinematic stuff, more so than the cinematic stuff. It's kind of a weird niche, but it's true. If you want to learn the calling thing, like you said, Shane Simpson's, Dave Owens, those videos are what you want to be watching, and they seem to do really well. So I'm sure it'll be a pretty cool video on your end when it's all said and done. However you guys end up putting it together.
Oh yeah, it should be. I'm really excited. Like I like Shane, and I've always wanted to hunt with him. But like when you're a smaller dude on YouTube, and you feel like you've got, a shot at growing quite a bit, it's like. It's cool to put yourself in front of a big audience, and Shane has a really big audience.
Yes.
So it's going to benefit me a lot more than him. So kudos to him for even considering letting me come up there and do that.
Yeah.
But I got to give a shout out to Justin Hogan at Kentucky Hardwood Hunters. He has the most underrated YouTube channel on YouTube, in my opinion. Really good deer hunts, really good turkey hunts. I love watching his stuff. And it's like he never gets talked about. It's like Justin does really freaking good at everything as well. So
I'm gonna write that down so I can check it out because I've never heard of him before.
No joke. Yeah, I think he's over in eastern Kentucky, so he hunts all
our
the
neck of the woods.
Yeah, Ethan killed a bird in eastern Kentucky last year. Who he went down. You guys have actually killed two birds down there. 2 years in a row, you've killed.
Yeah,
a bird
one
down
on
there.
public, one on private. We got a permission piece last year that we've been deer hunting and turkey hunting.
Yeah, we enjoy that Kentucky hunt. Kentucky's fun.
Yeah, we're going back down middle of April. Not the opening weekend, but the second weekend. Me and Dylan are going down.
Yeah, I want to let's walk back to that. You were talking about going too early. We run into the same thing in West Virginia. We always want to go down for the opener. We want to get down there before anyone's been pressuring those birds and all that. And we go and we get down there and there's not a leaf in the tree. Sometimes it's snowing. The birds are gobbling, but it's cold. They see us from a mile away when we're climbing up those mountains and setting up. We've had better luck when we've gone later in the year. You got to get that mindset out of your head that these birds probably aren't being as pressured as we think they are. So, if you can give them a couple weeks, let the green come up, your hunting can be a lot better.
I think it comes in on the 21st this year. I mean, that's pretty late in April.
I think that's the same as Ohio then, right? Isn't Ohio's the 21st this year too?
Maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Actually, Ohio, I had to look at the regulations because they change it all the time. They were starting on, Ohio used to always start on a Monday, But then they switched it around COVID time, like you talked about, and they started having their turkey season open on a Saturday. So I'll have to double check that. But I was also going to bring up, you were talking kind of to backtrack to what you were talking about pre-podcast. When you're filming like we are, it's not that big of a deal to have a public land hunt. Maybe even like I know me and you have both done it before on accident or when we were smaller channels, name the wildlife area, what have you. But as your YouTube channel starts to grow and you go from just 500 people watching to 1,000 to 5,000 to close to 10,000, what you say does start to matter. I mean, there's going to be 10,000 people potentially on every video that you put out knowing exactly what you're doing. And then you have a couple people put up a video in the same place, and there you go. So,
I mean, I think I joke about it in my videos, but I'm 100% honest when I say this. I'm 100% dishonest in my videos sometimes. I'm purposely trying to like make sure that people aren't like listening for tidbits.
Yeah.
So I'm if you're following what I'm saying, for the most part, I'm almost sending you on a wild goose chase every time. So,
and you have to be careful with your B-roll, and the thing that sucks is the hunting itself. When you're filming the hunting itself, it's usually not going to give anything away. Usually the terrain in the state, whatever, it's all monotonous. The problem is when you find something cool. Maybe you find a sweet water hole in the woods or a waterfall or, this really cool valley that's got pine trees on both sides. You start putting unique stuff like that in your videos, people start to recognize it. And especially the B-roll, the driving around the town you're in. Once you start to include little things like that, maybe you show yourself pulling into a bar or something, people are going to key in on that big time.
100%, dude. Got to be careful, and you've got to be mindful. And the main thing is just be respectful to the locals, especially out of state. Don't go in there. If you find something awesome, kind of like I did in Iowa this year, like there's no point in blowing that up for the guys that get to enjoy it every single year, not every 4 or 5 years.
Yep, I agree. Anything else you want to cover on the turkey front, or you want to move to bucks?
Man, I don't guess so. I'm excited for this year. I've got big plans, and we'll see how it goes. And I ain't switching nothing up really as far as equipment. Still be shooting the Saddies hand loads that Aaron Satterfield makes, and the old New England 20 gauge with no choke in it.
We have one of those, don't we? We have the partner. We have the New England. Yeah. It's a pump, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the entire reason I shoot that little gun. I do want to bring this up. It really worked me up the other day. My great grandmother passed away, not this last Friday, but the Friday or something before. Excuse me, my brain's a little foggy. But her funeral was 4 days after she passed, and I couldn't make the actual funeral. I had to take a test for a potential different job. So I went early to visitation, and I'm walking past all the pictures and whatnot, and she was 90-something years old. I think she lived 94 years, so she got to live a long life. So that feels different than like somebody suddenly being taken away at a younger age. So wasn't too worked up, but I'm cruising through all the pictures, and I'm talking to my Uncle Jimmy, and I look up, and there's a picture that I've been looking for since I was a kid. And like I just started weeping. Like I can't tell you how much it meant to me, because the picture was taken on April 6, 2002. Picture says 2003 is an old digital camera. But it was me and my papaw, and that's the only picture I have of us together turkey hunting. And it was taken on that camera. It was put on our old piece of crap 400-pound desktop computer, and it was printed off on a piece of computer paper. It was never printed on an actual, photo, whatever material.
Yeah. Yep.
So I thought it was gone. I had no idea where it was. The computer was gone and thrown away. The damn digital camera didn't even take an SD card. I'm pretty sure you had to plug it into the computer.
Yeah.
So like old technology in terms of today. So I seen it, and I looked at him and I said, "Who had this?" And he goes, "I don't have a clue." So I started asking all my papaw's brothers and sisters, and nobody else knew. And so the only thing I can think of is my papaw was so proud of that he took it from our house and took it to his mom's, and she had it all these years. So
I
was
saw
like,
your post asking for some Photoshop help to get it centered and
Yeah.
in better quality. It looks like you did get someone was able to make it better for you.
I did what you seen, and it didn't seem like nobody else did any better on it.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's another resource out there where they could like recreate it or something like that. I like it the way it is, but I don't know. It's just really special to me. But the entire point of that was like the gun in that picture is that gun he bought me, and I was so scared to shoot heavy loads when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was petrified. I got rocked one time and it screwed me up. So like my very first bird was killed with a low brass number 6 at like thank God he was 7 steps. Dude.
I was gonna say I've
Didn't
made
you-
that mistake.
yeah, didn't
before.
you do that once?
I've made that mistake in my day before, and it doesn't go well if they're more than about 10 feet away.
Yeah, they got to be really freaking close. I do remember how much that bird flopped, and now I guess I realize why. But you put that tungsten in a gun like that,
Yeah.
and I mean it throws just a beautiful pattern. I've seen people on I think it's Wild Turkey Nation or something on Facebook, like they want this, and they want the tightest restriction they can get, and once your pattern look like a freaking softball at 40 yards, I'm like, how stupid. Like, why do you want your stuff that tight? The point of a shotgun is to not shoot a damn, like, slug, essentially, at these birds. Like, you want your pattern nice and spread out and plenty of pellets evenly distributed. So, that 20 gauge tested at 60 yards, I mean, it's deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no problem. If I want to kill a bird that far, I could. I don't want to, and I almost never hunt anywhere that I can, but at about 35 to 40 yards, it throws a beautiful looking pattern. So I would like to have one, but all these guys that have got these $1,200, $1,600 semi-automatics and dipped in green leaf with their pistol grips and their $300 red dots, and I'm over here blasting them with $100 freaking New England. I just think it's funny.
I shoot that Stevens 410, the one you did the video on. I have that, and it works just fine. Killed the first bird with it this year.
I had the 20 gauge. I actually ended up selling that gun to a buddy of mine that just really, really, really liked it, and I thought I would get me another one, but I haven't got one yet.
I'm old school. I have a Remington 870 that shoots 3.5-inch magnums, and my shoulders, it still hurts. And my gun is guilty of what you talked about. Inside of 20 yards, my pattern's about like this. So there's a couple turkey hunt videos where my first shot just sends a warning to the bird, and he runs farther away. And when he gets to 40, he's a lot easier to kill because my pattern's bigger.
That's hilarious. Yep.
So turkey hunting coming up soon. We're all excited.
Yeah. Should be a fun time. Hopefully we have birds in Ohio. Last year we didn't have anything.
Yeah, our home farm here in Ohio last year didn't have a single gobbler on it the entire year. So the entire spring, we ran cell cams. I went out in the morning and listened. Never heard a gobble. Never got a picture of a gobbler the entire spring. It's weird how it works that way. Some years we'll have 2 or 3. There's been years where we've had 4 or 5 that use the area. But it's also weird. About halfway through the season, some birds will move out and different birds will move in. I don't know if you've noticed that with your public land, if you've actually hunted an area long enough to see that. But there's times where we'll have new birds move in about second week of May.
I can't say that I've seen that personally. I do believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I don't want to say they rut like deer, but I do think a gobbler will spend, 2-3 weeks in an area and then maybe shift a little bit and try to find some different hens or what have you. Right. Because I've had a couple different encounters in my turkey hunting career with color phase birds, and every time that's happened, it's been a mid-season bird that moves in randomly, shows up, and it's like, well, what is that?
You look different than when you did 2
whoa,
weeks ago.
Yeah. But we're excited for the turkey season. But we were going to do this podcast on deer hunting, and I guess we can get into it now that we're about halfway through it. But you had yourself one hell of a season. How many bucks did you kill?
I think it was 6.
Damn.
No.
It's more than I thought.
Yeah. I think I had 5 written down here. So
it was 6. Oh, I think when we talked earlier, you had left one out, but I was just going to wait till we got to it to talk about it.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect for me. But your season started in Tennessee this year.
As always, I love the early velvet hunt down there. I believe since the last time we talked, they have changed a lot of regulations, bag limits, what equipment you can use, and what public land you can even hunt on anymore. That's all kind of shrunk. It went down to bow only. Um, it was challenging in some ways, and in other ways, it made things more simple. It stopped overthinking some stuff. So,
Yeah.
I actually had the chance to go down and drop some non-cellular cameras on a couple different smaller WMAs while working out of town for 3 or 4 days. I played hooky one day and got that taken care of. Got hit by a water moccasin that day on the front of my boots, which was life-changing.
Did it break skin?
No, dude, I screamed like a girl. I ran, kicked my boot off, checked my foot, could not find a stick to go back and kill him for nothing that wasn't rotten, and he come after me again when I swung on him, and I think Mark McGuire would have been proud of my swing.
That's a little bit scary. I never think about snakes, you know.
I think a little bit about snakes in Kentucky and Pennsylvania just because of where we are.
It's real wet down there, kind of some of the places I hunt in Tennessee, and water moccasins have been on my mind heavy the last like 5 or 6 years going down there, but it took me 30 minutes to walk that area this year. It took me almost 2 hours to walk back to my truck, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, dang, so do you wear snake boots now or just still regular?
I mean, those weren't snake boots. He didn't get through them. I mean, I think it's honestly just a sales gimmick sometimes. I will wear gaiters because you get close enough and it doesn't matter what you're wearing. They can get up there to that calf. So I don't know what would have happened if he got me. I don't think it would have killed me. But I do know there was no service for a phone call or anything back there. And when I talked to the area manager, he's like, "Oh yeah, you got to watch out for them damn things." Helicopter have to come get you. Sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a poisonous snake expert, but I think, one bite from a water moccasin is going to be more of you got to deal with the infection and the way your leg's going to hurt like a bitch for about 6 months probably after that, and the blood problems you have from that.
Sick. I think you vomit and you're might hallucinate or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great way to start off the year. So when we all went back down there to hunt, I pulled the cards the day before, had a lot of promising deer that I thought I would get a shot at that week. And stuff changed so drastically. Like, they opened gates to the WMA the day of the hunt. Like, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, you're ruining it. I've talked to the guy since. It's like, that doesn't make any sense to us hunters why y'all would do that. You'd close gates, before the season. All of a sudden, you open them up. It's like, he said, well, it'd be a lot harder for a guy to drag a deer out that far. I'm like, man, anybody that's out in this stupid shit is not – they ain't worried about it. They're dedicated. Like, They don't mind, trust me. I was like, I ain't dragging no deer out of this place. But my buddy Colby Kennedy was with me on that hunt, as well as Scotty Flippo and Stuart Keene. You might have heard of Stuart. He's kind of out there. He's a public land killer. He's a really good hunter. Colby got on the big deer that I had been getting pictures of. I ended up not seeing any more deer. Everybody just wanted to walk through the WMAs and take a stroll on.
Was the pressure heavy?
Days. Yeah, just a bunch of hippies and whatnot. But ended up just swapping areas and had a decent, probably 75 to 80-inch deer down there come out. I would have loved to have shot that deer. He winded me. All the does that night winded me, and out pops a little 1.5, and I was going to let him go. I really was. Even from my standpoint, I was like, I don't know if that's worth dealing with tonight. And then he started to smell me, and he just couldn't mind his own damn business. So he got a frontal sever at 20 yards, and he popped up the field. And I actually called my buddies, and I was like, I just shot a giant. I mean, he is down in the field, and they're jacked up. And they could tell when they got to me, like, they know me. I wasn't, like, exuberant. And they're like, you shot a dink, didn't you? Oh, yeah, I did. And ended up packing that deer out on my shoulders, looking like one of them Instagram douches.
Man, you're just carrying a lot of water today. Shooting turkeys off the roofs, carrying deer out, 1.5-year-olds.
Yeah, there was so. If you hadn't seen the video, it's insane. If
I
nothing
saw.
else,
I watched.
take,
I watched
take a
that
peek.
video.
There's like 1,000 mosquitoes on this damn dead deer when we got to him. It was unreal. So I was like, let's just get out of here. So we took off running.
Yeah.
So season kind of got slow after that. I had really high hopes for Kentucky. Unfortunately, it didn't come in until September 7th this year. It makes it kind of tough to kill a velvet buck that late. It seems like some of the bigger ones are dropping about the 5th to 6th. So out-of-staters think I'm just screwing with them, and I'm like, this is not the year to come to Kentucky. I'm telling you. It's like, you just don't want us there. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, if you're buying this tag to kill a velvet buck, this is not the best year to come. So things kind of went south on what little private that I had. Deer just changed patterns at the last minute per usual. I wasn't aggressive enough on Saturday, and it was too late by Sunday. Things had changed, and I don't remember if I bumped that deer in the corn walking in or what happened, but I knew he had probably got a whiff or he had seen me because he had shown up every single day.
Yeah.
All summer long. It was pretty wild. I've never seen a deer act like that. He wasn't nothing over the top, but he was definitely something great footage.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and tag out in Kentucky early, and we'll move on somewhere else. But things pretty slow all of September. I made a trip up to Ohio to hunt, and I was there 30 minutes and jumped a beautiful big 10-point and hung a camera there and left it there all year, and he never come back to it. So the whole bump and dump thing ain't working for me. He didn't come back to it the 2 other days I was there as well. So that was the first and last time I hunted Ohio. I didn't come back during the rut or anything. I had plans, but I just had vendetta with other deer around here locally. Yep. So leaving local deer is almost insane to go hunt somewhere that you don't know nothing about 9 times out of 10.
We've been
we
there.
have a buddy that says that.
We've been there. One of the guys on our crew is big on that. We always, we usually plan that Indiana public land trip that we do. We usually plan that like the last week of October, sometimes the first week in November. And he actually came on the trip with us once. And the year he came on the trip, he ended up killing a big one back home in Ohio. But
and
ever since
the first case of COVID.
Yeah, that was also COVID times. But he's always on our ass. Like, dude, you guys have bucks showing up here. It's the 3rd week of October. What are you doing going to Indiana or whatever? I definitely feel that, but at the same time, you gotta juggle your options,
Yep, absolutely. So I know we're going to talk about a quota hunt, but I actually applied for a quota hunt in Tennessee that year, and I drew it. So I had a few days off of work, and I thought, I'm going to drive down. I just started this partnership with Moultrie. Mm-hmm. I had a few cameras with me. I was like, this is a rut rifle hunt down here. This place isn't open any other time of year. Like, I'm going to take the time. I'm going to drive down. I'm going to spend 5 hours driving round trip. I'm going to drop some cameras on this place, and I want to kill a good buck here. But I thought, while I'm down there, I might as well swing by and hunt an old familiar place that I used to bow hunt down there quite a bit. So in 2017, on a WMA in Tennessee, 2018, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had dropped a pin on a hub scrape that I found in a wagon wheel kind of setup. So if you're looking at an aerial map,
Spokes.
Pretty decent chunk of woods. It's not a perfect circle, but it's a chunk of woods, and there was about 8 to 10 yard wide little wood lots that just went wagon wheel spokes that went out, and that scrape was in the middle of that. And I'd marked it during turkey season, and I thought, I'm going to drive down there. That's the only active scrape that I can remember that I've ever marked in that place, because it was more of turkey hunting for me down there than anything. Yeah. So I was like, let's jump on that scrape and see what happens. And lo and behold, at quitting time in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get down. Morning hunts in early October, normally not worth practicing, but I also wasn't targeting a world-class whitetail neither. I was just expecting maybe something happen. And it did. The minute I put my camera in my bag,
of course,
I look up and see like really nice-looking wrapping main beams, and I'm like, there's no way that deer is that big. And he turned his head, and I'm like, dude, this is a really good deer for down here, like well above average. And I've got lucky and stumbled upon him on this BS hunt. And He'd come in. He was heading to the scrape. I still to this day don't know what happened. It's like that sixth sense because I don't believe he smelled me. And I can't remember if he may have caught me moving my arm to do something with my bow. Whatever it was, I ended up getting an arrow in him at 32, 33 yards. Thought that it was a bit far back, and I knew I didn't get a pass through. Went out, come back. This whole time, my wife doesn't even realize that I'm in Tennessee. I just told her I'm going scouting. I'll be back, before dinner. I'll be able to pick the kids up. So now I've shot this deer in Tennessee. I know he's really good. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. And I've got to drive through Nashville at some point during work hours or after work hours. So it's going to be hell.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what am I going to do? So I called her and told her what was going on. She's like, you're in Tennessee? I was like, yeah, and it gets better. I just shot a freaking nice buck. She's like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I got to go back in and at least hope that it looks good enough I can track him. And he had died first thing that morning, probably minutes after I shot him. It was a way better shot than I thought. But the deer was just a touch under 140, beautiful looking buck. And with everything going on and having to get back to pick them up, I was just in a cluster, dude. So I didn't have time to cape him. I thought, I don't know if I'm going to mount him or not. And in Tennessee, to remove a deer from that state, you got to bull the head and everything else.
Yep.
I didn't have my Haviland knife with me either. I normally got a little Haviland knife. It's like a scalpel blade.
Yeah, replaceable.
So getting the skin off of his head and everything, I still was going to have to find some way to boil his brain out.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to do it. So I skull capped a 139-inch deer.
Damn.
And yeah.
You can buy those replica. I think we have. There's one up there. We have those replica skulls, the Mike Hooker or whatever they call them.
Mountain Mike or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do with him because he's just sitting down in the building. I'm so lazy I didn't cut the hair off his freaking forehead. It's still on the skull cap, just rotting away.
Or you could buy a cape and mount him proper because it sounds like a beautiful buck. $700, like you said, $700. That one would actually cost you more than $700. You had to buy the cape too.
Yeah, and the early season capes are not cheap. By the way,
nope.
So yeah, I think I've got it kind of made up in my mind. They've got to be something just crazy special. I don't ever want anyone to ever feel like this is what your standard should be. But just in my eyes, I want to mount a 140-inch deer better. Under that, I don't really want to anymore. I've done it. I'm really proud of those deer and the mounts that I have. But I live in an area that I'm blessed with opportunities at deer like that at least once a year. Okay? Mm-hmm. So most of the time, with the amount of time that I have to hunt, the experience that I have, I'm going to get a chance at a deer at least like that. So the 140 is kind of my mark where I want to put a deer on the wall at this point. And if you're happy with a 110, you're happy with a 120, it's your first this or that or whatever it may be, kudos to you. Seriously, don't let somebody else's standards be yours because if I based my standards off of people that I used to look up to, these guys aren't even picking their bow up for deer like I'm killing.
Right.
And I think it's the best thing in the world. So, but yeah, really, really cool deer, kind of a cool hunt. It almost feels weird because I don't know if it ever hit me that what I went down there and did. It was just such a cluster that day and fast paced. I almost feel like I didn't get to enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
Plus his meat something was wrong. I found multiple infections. It didn't look like puncture wounds or anything. It just looked like something growing. So I kept a really big chunk of what I thought was okay, and the rest I just left there. And especially with all the disease and stuff going on, it's not really transferable to humans, but
yeah,
I damn sure don't want to.
Right. Early season makes it tough too with the temperatures. If it's above 60 degrees, it's real tough to have stuff not spoil on you.
I think it was flirting right around the 50 to 60 degree mark. And once I got to him realizing he had been dead a while, I was already nervous. So trying to get to work as quick as I can while also trying to get good quality photos. It's a hassle, man. The work begins when you let that arrow fly or shoot. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, especially if you want to have good trophy-looking photos and memories while also being alert and careful with your meat, because that is the main goal.
It sucks that camera was in your bag.
Oh, yeah, that hurt, because I feel like I've had a lot of hunts over the years that if like somebody was over my shoulder, it's like that would have been the video that hit over 100,000 views like that. I don't have to wait like 30 minutes like the hunting public does for their videos to hit 100,000 views. It's like, I got one on there now. It's close to 100,000, but it's been on there for 2 years, and it's like,
oh yeah. I don't think we had any. We didn't have any hit 100,000 this. Or actually, I take that back.
We had podcast.
We had a podcast at 100,000, but we didn't have any actual hunting content of ours hit 100,000 this year. It's tough. YouTube's tough, man. But I love it.
It really
we love it.
It is. But carrying on, after that, I ended up finding a deer in Indiana that I wanted to hunt in a place that I normally would not hunt. We can talk about that more off the podcast, because I'd love to fill you guys in on this story. But all I'm going to say is, if I kill this deer next year, the way that I hunted him this year, it'll be my video that does just astronomical. It's like unheard of, unthought of stuff that I'm doing to access this deer. And it has nothing to do with water this time. So
is he a giant?
He's not a giant. He's just a really gnarly looking deer that lives in a really stupid spot.
I like that.
Yeah, he
that.
may be a giant next year, because this year he wasn't bad at all. Nice wide frame. I'll send you a video of him after the podcast. But he's a really cool deer. But I kind of was consumed with that buck, trying to keep up with my trail cameras in Kentucky. And let's flash forward to November 2nd. My wife looks at me and says, "Why don't you take Kyson tonight?" Which is my stepson. Mm-hmm. Basically my son. His dad's just not involved. So really proud dad moment. He started calling me dad finally after like 5 years. Thank God.
Yeah, that's got to feel good.
It does feel good. So I was like, I looked at Maddie and I'm like, I love this child, but I don't want to take my kids on a November 2nd bow hunt. I want to be alone and in the game.
Yeah.
So somehow I've convinced myself, like, let's just do it. Let's just try it. So I go to one of the WMAs that I hunt, and we can't do much. So I've got my Elevate stand on my back, one latitude stick, and my X-Wing platform. So I'm walking into my saddle. I've got him with me. He's carrying a little backpack. He thinks he's cool. He's only 6 years old, by the way. And we start working in, and I'm like, we're only going to go like half a mile, something like that. Well, we go like a quarter of a mile. I'm like, let's just try somewhere I've never even hunted on this place, somewhere I've never even scouted. Ease off the trail about, 50, 60 yards. I look up, there's a big rub. There's another big rub, and a beech tree about 50 yards in front of that. Like that, maybe. And I got to that last rub, and I glassed it. I'm like, it's obliterated, like just ripped to shreds. There's like 4 scrapes under it. 4 or 5 branches are broken. I'm like, oh my God, like what have we found? So I found this like 2 trunk red oak, and I put the latitude stick on the tree, climbed up, hung the stand, hung the X-Wing off to the side of that, and I literally hoisted him up like with my hand on his ass and set him in the stand. And it was like 7 feet off the ground. I was like, do not fall. Please do not fall. Like, it would be so bad if anybody got wind of this that you got hurt with me. It's like you are 3 feet over OSHA standards at the moment. So they could probably do something about it. But we sat there all afternoon, didn't see nothing till last light, and we both heard a deer walking. He's been really still. He's been really good the whole time. Little fidgety, but I try to straighten him out every time he get to moving around. Like, Tyson, sit still. You can't be moving. While I'm, moving my head and I'm looking around.
Yeah, right.
You feel like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. It's okay for me to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And I'm turning around looking, and I'm like, where the hell is this deer? Because it just sounds like a buck walking, and he goes, he's right here. And I'm like, what do you mean right here? So I swing my head back around, and there's a deer that I've been chasing all season. Or not chasing, but I've been following all season. It's like, this deer is 550 yards from the closest camera that I have And this is where he's bedding. Like, boom, light bulb, cool. My kid and found something new. But the deer ends up hanging up and just like checking out that beech tree almost till dark. And I finally got my shot. When last time I ranged him, he was about 48. Little far. I felt confident in it. And it was at twilight time where you can't really make out what's in front of you when it's really small. And he kind of veered back a little bit. So I knew he was a little over 50 at this point. I put the pin on him, squeezed it off. Arrow flight looks good. It hit something, and then I heard it go pop. And I'm like, I hope I missed him. Like, it sounded like I hit him. It looked like it was way too low to be a hit.
Yeah.
So I climb down. He jumps to me. I catch him, and I leave that set up there. I actually sat Kyson at the tree with his headlamp on, and I walked over there and found my arrow, and it had like a touch of muscle on it, nothing else. And I'm like, shit, what did I do?
Yeah,
And just a little bit of hair. So I hunt the next. I actually go hunt the next morning because I felt super confident it was not a lethal hit. And I'd hunted about a mile from there, and on my way back, I was working towards the shot site. I come across like good-looking red blood, and I'm like, no way, surely it's not this deer. And I followed it all the way back to where I shot him, and 5 yards from that point, he let a little drop out, and another little drop, and then it become a pretty constant drip for a while. And after pictures and videos and calling my good friend Kenzie Taylor, she told me she's about 100%, about 99% positive that I hit that deer through the like bottom of his front leg towards the back. It had hit that branch and went through at least one of his front legs in the back. Like there's a little
muscle tendons back there.
There's a really small tendon.
It'd be like where your hamstring is for us, but
yeah, she was on the phone with me, and I got a notification from Moultrie. Pull it up. There he is, chasing a doe as hard as he could, hobbling on 3 legs. And then over the course of the year, his leg healed, and he is still alive to this day as of 3 days ago.
Sounds like a good deer for next year, man.
Yeah, it sounds like a great deer for next year.
Great story, at least.
I'm feeling really good about it. So flash forward to the 10th of November. I'm boating in. I picked this brand new spot. I pick a tree. Don't know what's going to happen. Climb up. And within 2 hours, I had a chance at about 145, 150 inch deer. The problem was, while rowing in, it hit me. I don't think I have my release with me. It's not on my bow. And I'm like, there's no point. It's November 10th. It's like, what do? Do I paddle 30 minutes back to the truck, take 20 minutes to load the boat, whatever it takes, and then drive like an hour and 10 minutes back to the house? Like, hell no. There was actually another guy at the boat ramp that I almost went back and asked if he had a release, like I could borrow. But I was like, I'm just going to try it. I'm not going to climb up real high. I climbed up about 15 feet. And, of course, the whole hunt happens, and then, boom, there's this buck with a doe. The doe has got me pegged. She spent 22 minutes walking back and forth, checking me out of the tree. And he's just watching her from like 70 yards. And he is just it's that instinct they have of like, she hasn't blown or gave any indication that she's like going to run, but he's smart enough to sit there and watch her mannerisms and think, I just don't quite feel comfortable going down in there yet. She ends up circling. The grace of God was like, I'm going to give you a chance. And she walks away without blowing or acting odd at all. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. That was got to be a God thing. What I failed to mention was at first light that morning, I screwed a field tip on, and I shot the bow with 2 fingers. Mm-hmm. And I shot 15 yards at a sycamore leaf, and I smoked it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm fine. Like, I couldn't see what the arrow did. I just knew I hit right where I was aiming. And I'm like, I'm not going to shoot at anything past like 30 yards today. Like, I will not do it, period. And he ended up giving me a 30-yard shot. And I remember letting that arrow go because he was kind of catty-cornering, not away from me, but he was just staying that perfect distance away. He wasn't going to get no closer. He wasn't going to get no further. And when I took the shot, the knock almost hit this deer in the nose.
Really?
Arrow just kicked sideways.
The arrow was whipping sideways. It looks like I shot through a brush pile.
We had
And I'm
someone
like,
else on the podcast say the same thing. They had a hunt similar to that where they forgot the release and they tried shooting with their fingers and their practice shot was good. I can't remember. I think it might have been Born Again Matt. I can't remember.
I have no
But
idea.
this happens in the hunting woods often.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of guys would have even posted that happened or said it, everybody's perfect.
Everyone's perfect online, don't you know? Everyone's perfect.
I knew I was taking a chance, and I knew there was a chance that I could screw up and hurt a deer and not recover it. I still took the chance.
What kind of release do you shoot?
It's like just a true fire finger.
Okay, just old school wrist strap, like
old school wrist strap.
Do you carry two on you now?
You think my dumb ass would, but I still
because
don't.
I keep a second one in the bottom of my bag. There's an interior side pouch. I've had a backup release in there for years because I'm just terrified I'm going to do the same thing.
God, dude. I switch backpacks almost between hunts daily.
And that would do it then, yeah.
It's like I know damn well I'm going to forget it in a pocket somewhere on accident. I forget my pull-up rope more times than I care to admit. It's just like I'm the most organized, unorganized hunter ever. So
I hear you on that.
Yeah. So paddled out, pissed off, mad at the world, then decided I'm going to go shoot some does tonight, and nobody's going to stop me. I don't even know if we'll stop at the bag limit of 2 does tonight. It'll be good.
shooting turkeys off the roost.
Oh, Jesus. Come on. Yeah, everybody's going to hear. They're going to hear that part. And they're not going to hear the part where we jumped off the limb earlier in the podcast. So I grabbed the boys, go out to a ground blind. Me and my youngest Lakin had set up the day before. Put a big corn pile out in front of it. There's like 2 or 3 deer on this property that I would be happy to shoot. Haven't been consistent. Haven't had any kind of pattern to them. Didn't expect to see them. The corn pile and blind is like 150 yards from where I parked my truck. Just so it's easy, I can take my kids, sneak in there, get in the blind, shoot a doe. If I need just meat, I can go shoot a doe right there. No problem. Every single hunt, there's going to be a possibility. Lo and behold, a big buck comes in. It's number 2 on the list, and he walks right to this corn pile, dude, like he's been hitting it for months. And I literally just poured it out yesterday. He walked right to it.
The power of corn's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm not even going to get off on that tangent. There's just guys out there that believe this, that, and everything, the pressure and where the moon's located, yada, yada, yada. And they've got a corn pile every 50 yards. And it's like, you don't think that has an altercation on
Deer Society. Deer Society.
Oh, my God.
500-pound feeders.
So, but like I said, pre-recording, like, that's not my ideal way to take a deer anymore. As far as a mature buck. It's great, and I'm not sitting here telling you guys if I ended up with a damn 200 on camera out there, you best believe I'm going to try everything that I can to kill him. But it's not what I envision in my mind as like that's my goal every year.
Right.
So the excitement of having my kids there with me after missing that deer that morning, and, it was just complete fluke that we even went that afternoon. It was just like, let's just all go. Let's just shoot some does and let me reset my mind because I was in a slump at that point.
Yep.
Been a good year already, but it's like that's what you wait for all year is those moments, especially on public. Here's a possible 150, gives you a chance on the first sit in a brand new area, and it's like, son of a gun, dude. So, but looking up and seeing that deer coming into that area, and I've got them two just like wide-eyed over here behind me, telling them, hold your ears, because I'm not a responsible parent. I don't buy ear protection. So I shot and then dropped him, and it was a really, really cool experience with them. And my youngest, I get a freaking kick out of him, all the things he's saying to this dead deer when we're walking up to it. It's like, dude, don't say that. Oh, my gosh, you're going to get us canceled. Moultrie picked up a really cool video. You got the 2 of them walking out. Kyson's carrying my tripod and my camera. The other one's holding a flashlight that's anywhere but on the ground. And then there's me like trying to drag this thing through the frame. So
cool.
That was a really, really, really cool hunt, man.
Yeah, that's that. I remember seeing the post about that one. That's awesome.
No, yeah, it felt good having them there with me, but as I said before, not the ideal way to tag a buck for me anymore. So
yeah, we talk about. I would say half the time, half our podcast, we end up talking about baiting with the guests or whoever we have on. It's a hot topic. We here on our farm in Ohio, we hunt all of October and all of November without corn, and then towards the end of November when we leave to go to West Virginia and stuff, that's when we put our first corn out, and then we hunt December and January with corn. So we do 2 months with it, without it, and 2 months with it. There's been years where we've killed bucks, plenty of bucks prior to putting it out, and then there's years where we have to wait, and rely on that corn to kill bucks later in the year. If I had my way every time, it would be that beautiful October 19th. Buck comes in, hits a scrape, 150 inch, shoot him, perfect 4K footage, no corn within miles. Obviously, I would love to have that every year, but you can wish in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one, fills up first. But
that affects, 100%. I know you guys know this, but that affects views.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
think if a viewer pops on your video and they have an idea that's what it's going to be and they get confirmation of it, it's like they'll click off of it most of the time. Certain people will,
It's weird. You're gonna, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way. So there's gonna be someone who's listening to this and gonna take offense to it probably, but you're gonna get a certain crowd when you're doing that kind of, if you're showing hunts with bait or doing the deer drive, deer camp type, videos, you're gonna attract a different kind of hunter than, say, the guys that are total purists, only hunting deer off sign, public land guys. They're going to come out, they're going to say corn, what the hell, they're going to leave you nasty comments. So I get it.
Corn in my state. That's okay.
Yeah, right. Like baiting ain't hunting, isn't that illegal? All that stuff. But but sometimes it's just the way it has to be.
Right. I agree 100%. And, that whole well, if I'm not, my neighbor is. People that don't agree with that probably live in a state where you can't bait.
Right, and some of their neighbors probably still are. There's lots of corn for sale in Indiana.
Yeah, that is no joke, dude. That is no joke.
Deer cane, they got salt blocks, they got all this stuff for sale everywhere in Indiana that you can't use. It sells like hotcakes. It almost
pisses me off when I run across like a salt lick in the woods. It's like, damn it, I wish I'd never even seen it now. Now if I even hunt remotely close to here, I'm going to feel guilty.
You can get in trouble. Even if you don't know it's there and the game warden's watching those salt licks, you can still get in trouble even without the knowledge because they don't know if you're lying. There's been all kinds of posts about that. But
it's bullshit, dude. Yeah. But they have a lot of people lie to them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyone who gets caught lies at first.
Yep, I agree. But so the following weekend, I was drawn for a quota hunt on a government area.
Perfect way to leave it.
Perfect way to leave it. There's plenty of government places that you can hunt within 200 miles of me, and trust me, I hunt them all. So it's kind of a shit show, to say the least, when you're applying for these, because, one, you don't know if you're going to get drawn, then you find out you are, and then you still don't know where you're going to be hunting in that vicinity. My cat just popped up here and showed his butthole on screen. What is this, OnlyFans?
I got to run over.
That's fine.
But do we want to keep going?
No, yeah.
So you don't know till about 24 hours before this hunt where you're going to be at. You have to get designated an area, and that has to do with how quick you can log on and get the ball rolling, get checked in. It's a lot of work, and it's a big headache, but it could be a big reward. And I just happen to have drawn an area that's open to hunt like either 2 or 4 days a year, every year. So the deer aren't getting killed in there by people.
Right.
So going into this hunt, I knew that it was going to be a pure pressure hunt. You may get lucky. You may have a buck come in and check a scrape, shoot him. Might have a buck come by chasing a doe. But most of your deer are going to be from people pushing them around. This area is notorious for a bunch of old guys that like to just walk and shoot the first thing they see.
Yeah.
So they push a lot of deer around. And, it's funny. I joke and I try to be as humble as I feel like I can. And it's all luck. It's luck. Well, this hunt, man, I sat down and I planned my ass off for like 12 hours straight through that day, just like figuring out, where do I think a truck's going to be parked? Where do I think people are going to look at? What's the most obvious terrain features? And on top of all that, I woke up late so I didn't even get there early. I got there probably about 30 minutes before first gray light, but everybody had already been there.
Yeah.
So I took the time to drive the entire perimeter of this place, this area, and there's fence, not high fence. They can jump the fence if they have to.
Right.
But after checking and marking all these trucks where they're pulled off at and kind of getting an idea of where I think these hunters are, I found a downed tree that had broken the fence. And there was ways to walk. There's easements around the fence, but there's parking lots beside them. So like the deer associate that with trucks and right there beside where we're trying to escape. Like they still feel uneasy about it. But I found this tree that had knocked down this portion of the fence, and I thought that's enticing. Like I don't really have a great plan yet, so I parked and I walked back there with my headlight, and it was just littered with deer tracks running back and forth, getting out of the gravel down in the little ditch ordeal. And it was just, I was like, oh my God, like they cross here regardless while there's not hunting pressure. Imagine when people start tromping around in here all morning.
Yeah.
So I go back and grab my stuff, get through the fence. I don't go more than 100 yards in there, and I've got this idea. I'm going to watch a super steep valley, and I'm also set up right on the edge of this bench. So anything on top that gets bumped off may sneak around that bench down lower, 20 to 30 feet in elevation from the top, but also hidden from like this deep valley where all these guys, including me, was like watching for a possible long shot. And I laid on the ground until it started getting gray light. I stood up, I took my one stick, I put it on the tree, I climbed up. I could have been more than 5 feet off the ground. And at this point, the reasoning was like, I don't know where my shot is going to be as far as where it's clear until closer to daylight. So I waited. So I didn't have a camera on the tree. I don't even know if I had my GoPro out of my bag yet. And it hits shooting time, like on my phone. And it wasn't moments after that, I heard a deer walking. I turned around the wrong way in my saddle, which, by the way, so I'm a left-handed shooter. And if this deer is walking in from behind me, I should have turned like this. And that way I could have shouldered my gun. Instead, I turned like this to look because he was more this way. And he's 15 yards at this point on that bench. Like I just drew up this play in the NFL. He comes right around the bench just like I thought. And like while he's like there, I can hear somebody fumbling with the climber way over that way. It's like, that's it. I mean, bing, I did it. I figured out exactly what was going to happen. And I can tell he's a good deer. I couldn't tell how good. And he looked my way, and I was like, that's a really, really good deer. Like, holy crap. So now I've got to get this gun, and I'm thinking about like trying to swing on him. I was like, he's too close. It'd be so easy for him to see me and just bolt. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to shoot him right-handed. So I swapped hands. I'm struggling to pull the hammer back, and I had left the damn scope on 9 times.
So the deer's about this big in your reticle.
Dude, no joke. At this point, I'm fumbling around so much that he's seen me. So, like, I got the scope on his face, and I follow it down his neck until I get to his front leg, and then I went up to his back, and then boom, just let it drop just a little bit, and I shot. Smoke cleared. I didn't hear a deer run. I like hung it up, and I'm like looking, like it's still pretty dark. I'm like, he's right there dead on the ground. It's like there's not a deer nowhere to be found at this point. I'm like, oh my God, I just whiffed a 15-yard shot. Like I screwed up, like 110%. I couldn't wait no more. Climbed down, went up there, couldn't find blood. Turns out I was just in the wrong spot. He wasn't standing there. That's another thing. Self-filming hunts is so important. Is like you can look back and like this deer was right beside this rock or right beside this white oak, whatever it may be. But I got back up in the tree and I looked. I'm like, I think he was actually just a few feet higher. I went up there, bubbly lung blood everywhere. 90-yard track job. There he was. And the deer completely blew me away. Like, I feel like I've over-exaggerated some deer in the past thinking how big they were going to be. This one, I was looking at him, I was like, 132, 133. Like, really, really awesome deer. I'm tickled with him. I was like, it's perfect for this hunt. This is exactly what I want to come up here for. Got the deer back to the truck with some help of a four-wheeler, of somebody that's allowed to use a four-wheeler in there.
Yeah, do they have like guys coming around picking deer up for people and stuff, or like?
No, so they have all the different areas have a area guide contact. Um, you call that person and they will help you, or they'll get you after hours access to get in there because you
Gotcha.
got to be out by a certain time.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're allowed to use four wheelers, and he heard me shoot. He's the guy that was back there in the climber, fumbling around, that ran the damn deer to me, and I didn't have the heart to tell him. I was like, yeah, he'd come up from this way, and it was an easy, 50-yard shot. It's like, no, dude, you scared the shit out of that deer like 15 minutes ago, and he walked up to me. So I appreciate you. Would you like some jerky? But
Yeah, right.
got him back to the truck, got him checked in. They told me he was a 7-year-old deer, dude. As far as how they aged him, which I believe it, you don't see those deer don't see a lot of people. They don't get pushed around a lot. They don't get hunted a lot. They get a chance to get old.
Yeah,
Not a
sounds
very big
awesome.
body deer. I think he was 125 pounds dressed. So, but the deer, I scored him at home, and I just like to score them because I like to know what they were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I killed a 150 this year. Like, would you that ain't me. But I just like to know what they were, and I scored him. I was like, no, there ain't no way. I scored him again. It's like, there's no way. And I scored him a third time. And I'm like, he's a 146 or 147 inch deer. Like, I would never have thought. But he had like 13-inch G2s, or G2s, like 12-inch G3s, and his beams wrapped around, but he was only like 12 and a half inches wide.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, you can't shoot a deer under 12 inches wide up there legally. So, like, I was sweating bullets when I picked him up. Like, dude, if they get pissed about me shooting this old of a deer that's only this wide, like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Like, y'all are doing that to keep people from shooting immature deer on these hunts.
Right.
But, yeah, that was my biggest deer of the season. Followed by, I won a hunt through Moultrie. Turned out to be a West Texas hunt, and it was so much fun. I've never been on a guided hunt before. We was fortunate enough we got our airfare taken care of. Check bags. All we had to do was just show up. Our tags. Went out there hunting with a guy named Johnny. I wish I could remember the name of the outfitter right now, but I am so freaking like brain fogged and tired.
Yeah, I hear you.
Gosh. By the way, I'm getting up at 3:30 every day, and I'm driving like almost 2 hours to work in a different time zone because there's no work available right now. So like I stay exhausted.
Well, we don't have to keep going too much longer. We can try to wrap this up quick, get you in bed soon.
No, yeah. But rattling in bucks out there, super fun way to hunt. I should have killed the first deer I seen. I elected to kind of pass. He didn't give me a great chance, but he would have been a little bit bigger because the buck that we ended up rattling in about an hour later had a broken side, and I couldn't see when I shot him. Had he had both sides the exact same, 131, 132 inch deer. But what I'm looking for out there is dark chocolate rat.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Yep.
Dude, he was a beautiful deer. Wasn't an old deer, probably a 3-year-old deer. Hindsight being 2020, I probably would have waited. A lot of other guys tagged better deer. There was a few guys that did not tag as good a deer. But super fun experience just going out there and seeing stuff that I've never seen before. And by the way, having somebody knock on your damn cabin door at 4:30 telling you biscuits and gravy and bacon and everything done.
That's what I do to him at deer camp.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
yeah. Unless someone else is cooking it for me, I'm not eating much of a breakfast at deer camp besides maybe a donut from a bag or something, some coffee.
Yeah, it was a wild, dude. Just not exactly having your hand held, but just like it was a different type of camp.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
You do it again?
Do what?
You would do it again?
Yeah, if somebody dropped $3,500 on my porch, I wouldn't tell my wife that I'd be going back. I think that's what the hunts cost.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
Not as expensive as some places I've heard of and seen, but you're also not shooting like a super giant high-scoring deer out there. I think they've hunted that ranch for 40 years now, and the biggest buck they've ever taken is like a 167.
Okay. Yeah, because I know you hear about some of them Texas ranches, like down by the border, they can have some massive 200-inch class bucks. But
yeah, he has a ranch down there as well that they have, and I think it's almost double the price.
Yeah.
So
there's that famous ranch in Mexico. I can't remember the name. It's something with an L. It's actually in Mexico, but it has like 180, 190, 200-inch bucks killed every year. Massive.
Starts with an L.
Yeah, it's got.
Must be El Salvador.
No. It's called.
That was terrible.
It's called like Lucas Savis or something. Luke Savis. I don't know. I see Instagram reels from there all the time, and it shows these just 200-inch bucks walking through the cactus and stuff like.
Oh yeah,
Nasty.
it's really neat. It's cool how they can pinpoint that sound and they act uninterested in you. I've seen it multiple times out there. They'll rattle at them, they'll look, they'll just be like, "Screw you!" They disappear, and 5 minutes later they're 40 yards.
Really
Sneaking up on you.
Oh, dude, it's like turkey hunting, but for a damn whitetail. It might be my favorite hunt that I've ever done. That's out of the norm.
Really?
Pretty damn cool.
cool.
Carrying on, I kept chasing this deer in Indiana. Had a lot of opportunities. Had him at full draw twice. Had him in range with the muzzleloader and lost him in the daylight. Like, I don't know how I did it, but just an absolute rookie screw up. So that deer made it another year. I ended up killing the deer I did in Indiana because he was limping when he come in. I passed him multiple times that year. Just a really good up-and-comer.
Mm-hmm.
He come in limping, and I'm like, man, like, I don't want to eat this tag, but if this deer is going to get eaten by a coyote or, something's really wrong with him, like,
Right.
I'd rather just kill him. And I freaking shot that damn thing, and he ran like a thoroughbred. There wasn't nothing wrong with his damn leg after he had an
Playing
arrow
possum on you.
Yeah, he's doing something. He got him hurt bad, but cool deer.
That Indiana deer is like that's the quality of deer that we see often when we're up there. The deer of that size.
He's a pretty good average deer for this area.
Yeah.
I mean, not something a lot of people want to shoot,
Right,
including me. But just given the circumstances, what I was seeing and how late it was, and we had some really bad weather coming, and that stuff just isn't good for him.
Right.
Any disadvantage a deer has at that point, it might put him out of his life.
Yep.
At some point.
Yep.
But I finally saved up enough points to go hunt Iowa. Drew that late season muzzleloader tag out there. I think I timed it perfectly. Like, I've had Jacob Myers, the Southern Outdoorsman, tell me, like, you got to have weather. You got to have weather. You got to have snow. You got to have temperatures that you cannot stand to be out there in. And I finally found some deer after 2 days of being there that I wanted to hunt. And on day 3, I would get my shot opportunity at the biggest deer I've ever taken a shot at in my life.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of that thing, man. He's just a monarch.
Dude, the thing about them deer out there is the bodies. Like, you just can't compare to anything around here.
Right,
like,
right.
That deer could have been pushing like the 280s, 290s. Like, that's how I feel how big he was. Big body, big shouldered. Looks like a damn racehorse with antlers. Mm-hmm. So when the antlers look that big on that big of a deer, he's pretty damn big.
Yeah.
But I had some serious muzzleloader issues on that trip. I won't go into detail too much about it.
Was
but
it
I will.
Weather related or just shitty gun?
Well, it is about a mid-grade gun. It wasn't a long-distance gun, and that's something you should really practice when going out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people may know this, and you just may call me stupid, and that's fine. But, I didn't think about it. I would take that muzzleloader out, and I would hunt in the mornings, and it would be 2-3 degrees with a wind chill of like -10. That barrel and everything inside of it is getting freezing cold.
Mm-hmm.
Freezing cold. What's the first thing you do when you jump in your truck? You are cranking that heat.
Yeah, so it's building up moisture in your barrels. What was happening?
It built so much moisture in my barrel. So when I took a practice shot the morning before I went in there to hunt that buck, because I'd seen him the night before, it misfired on me really bad. And I don't know if that screwed the gun up or what happened, but at that point, I almost could not get it back on target. And I went in feeling pretty unconfident. Like, I felt good, like, because I had nailed the bullseye on the last shot, but it was like, damn, sometimes it just makes you wonder if that was dumb luck, and
Right.
It's still off. I get real weird about it. But the buck come out that night, and instead of like 4 150s hitting the field with this possible 180-inch deer, he was the only deer that come out that night. He come out 20 minutes before complete dark. He come out at 210 yards. I felt comfortable to 200, like really comfortable to 200. But when a 180-inch deer is in front of you, you start to think, I've got to take it. I've got to try. Like, I don't think I'm going to wound him. whatever. Like I'll kill him. It may not be the perfect shot. He comes out at 210, and then I take my eyes off him for a minute. I'm texting my buddy. I'm like, he's in the field with me right now. I was like, and at this point I was calm. I was not worked up, nothing. And I don't remember that I ever did. Because looking back at it, it's like I coached myself that entire afternoon leading up to that. It's like, if this deer comes out, this is going to be your chance to kill a booner. Like, this is you've waited your whole life. You've worked your whole life for this moment. Just all you can do is screw it up. And that's by getting worked up. Like, just be calm. So he come out, I coach myself down, and I'm fine. I am perfectly fine. Like talking to you guys right now.
Yeah.
Well, he just stands there forever till there's 5 minutes of light left. I'm like, dude, take a couple steps. Well, he starts veering out into the field further. I'm like, dude, this is now or never. Like, I'm freaking out. I range him one last time. He's at 245 now. Way too damn far.
Yeah.
Way too damn far. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, but I know that I've got just a few minutes to do it. This gun is sitting on a bog death grip. It is as still as it can be. Like, there's no movement on the scope. And I've got it settled perfectly on his shoulders, and I'm actually asking one of my friends, what do you if this gun is zeroed for 150, what the hell, how high do I hold with 150 grains of powder in this grain bullet? And you can actually look up those analytics.
Yep.
So he looked it up for me, and he told me a number. So I raised it up over the deer's back, I think probably 12 to 13 inches over his back. And I'm just dead in line with everything. And I'm like, here we go. Take a breath. Got the hammer back. Let's take a breath. Let it out slow. And I squeezed this shot off. And it was the most positive I've ever been that I did not flinch or nothing whatsoever. I know I pulled the shot off really cleanly. But the smoke cleared. The deer was not in the field. And I searched for about an hour for blood, walking back and forth, and I never found anything.
At 245 yards, that's tough to know exactly where you were, I'm assuming.
There was snow on the ground, too, and there's deer tracks everywhere.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. So, I lined it up with a tree and walked straight out there. But it was corn, so I just walked the rows of corn back and forth.
Yep.
I did it from 20 yards out, every row in, and then went back, and went even further the next time. So, there was a guy that I was down there sharing camp with, and I told him about the deer after I shot at him. I tried to play it off the night before, and I didn't want to be a douchebag and hide this deer from them because we all kind of hunted the same area the night before.
Right.
But I also didn't want to be over-exaggerating my head. I was like, he's a really good deer. He's definitely something I want to kill here. I told him, go back in there. Maybe you'll get lucky and he'll come back out the next night. So it's a change of wind, and he sits on the far side of where that deer was walking the night that I shot at him. And the night that I seen him the night before, he come out and did the same thing, but I was planning for one of the smaller deer, just an easier shot. So this deer comes back out the night before, all by himself, and he walks a straight line all the way to within 10 yards of the little makeshift ground blind that I built and grassed him, and he fed there for an hour.
So obviously you had missed him.
Yeah, 100% missed him. And I don't know if I shot low or high, but that guy, he was like, are you sure he come down a tree line? Are you talking about the other tree line? I'm like, dude, no. This is my blind. He's like, he's 15 yards from it right now, feeding on corn and wheat. I was like, but dude, I told you to sit there because it's the way he went the 2 nights before. But
Did that deer end up living then?
I have no idea.
I mean, you won't be able to draw points again for 5 years, so.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. About 4 years to draw that tag.
Ethan knows what it's like to miss a deer with a muzzleloader.
Yeah, I missed a Kentucky buck.
Oh. Yeah, I think that muzzleloader's retired. I'm officially retired.
Yeah, those muzzleloaders are tough because they are deadly accurate and awesome when it's 20 degrees and no weather, but you start getting any kind of moisture, it starts raining, or you got hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. They start to do squib fires and hang fires, and they get real finicky real quick. And you got to be cleaning the shit out of the barrel all the time in between hunts while you're hunting. I mean, it can become a pain, but
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah,
but
it is. It is.
it gives you more opportunities, so that's why I enjoy hunting with them. But I would like to upgrade it this coming year. I had a really bad run with it this year. I've had trouble getting it to stay zeroed for 2 years now.
What brand is it?
It's a Thompson Center Impact.
Is that what I have?
I have no idea.
Do they have the two little things you slide back to break it?
Yep.
I think that's the one. I think that's the one. We have two of those.
Yep. It's killed a lot of deer for me. But like you said, when the conditions are perfect.
Yeah. Wet powder is still wet powder, but yeah. It's not exactly an expensive or complex gun by any means.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. So like we've alluded to, it was a really good season, and it started off great and it stayed great, and everybody's congratulations on your year. Don't let it get to your head. Yada yada yada. I was like, I don't get to my head or nothing like that. Trust me, I don't think I'm any better this year than I was last year. But ending it the way that I ended it by not tagging that Indiana buck that I had in within 100 yards of me 8 times this season, and I just couldn't seal the deal, followed by missing a possible 180-inch deer. It just it feels like I felt like the Falcons. You know what I mean? Like we're kicking the Patriots' ass.
Right.
Oh, guess what?
You said that Kobe Bryant interview. Job's not finished.
Yeah, but it's not like you. It's not like you lost the game because you did kill some great bucks along the way. But yeah, I feel you on that. You're going to remember the misses a lot more than the ones you kill probably in those situations. But I mean, the Indiana buck. The good news is that Indiana buck next year you can finish it off by telling this great story, and hopefully you can get on him, find his sheds. Possibly, I don't know how much shed hunting you do out there, but
I tried already. Covered about a third of his core area. Didn't find him. It was the day of the Super Bowl actually. So,
do you know that he is shed now?
So I haven't seen him. Okay. That I know that for sure it's him. But I did get a couple videos of what I think is him with no antlers. Yeah, I could be wrong because there's other deer in the area that are about the same body shape and size. And
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. His antler is really really neat. So I'd like to find it.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. I got no advice for you on the Iowa deer because you're never going to see that deer while hunting again. So you're just going to have to stomach that one.
That's okay. The area that I found him in, I know what it holds, and I can't wait to get back.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're in an hour and 30 minutes, and like you said, you got work tomorrow. It's after 10 o'clock now, I think.
We got some things to talk about after the podcast with you, so.
But yeah, we'll cut the recording here, and then we'll talk for a few minutes afterwards. But we loved having you on, man, once again. I would love for you to have an awesome season next year, and we'll catch up with you after again. I'd like to hear the Indiana story, but it's great. It was great having you on.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's a pleasure as always.
Yep. That's Deer Shot Podcast, episode 84. Jacob Emery, and we are out.